genius of Michael Jackson, along with the production of Teddy Riley on the album Dangerous, with one of the most infamous videos of all time.
Infamous?
Yes.
Gangster? What are you talking about?
No, infamous doesn't have to mean gangster. Infamous just means that it is inescapable in the way that it impacts our society.
Okay, all right, we're going to have to Google the meaning of infamous.
You can.
I always thought infamous was like John Dillinger or
no, that's one.
Tupac and Juice.
That's one way.
Tupac and Juice.
That's why dictionary.com has numbers and different ways of interpreting terms. So we want to bring that in, but that is definitely one of those videos that transcends time, because there's no reason why Kayla J should really have any real knowledge of that, but it is still a part. It is still, it's still part of her culture.
Actually, that predates Black Panther in terms of Afrocentricity and blackness in American film.
Yeah, but there was not going to be there was no chemistry between Michael Jackson and Iman. We'll get into that in a moment. We'll get into that in a moment. But we have a caller that was hanging on from the last hour that we want to get to before you and I start deviating, Mike D. And that's Leon from Center City. Good morning, sir. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. How everybody doing? Yeah,
good.
I wonder if the young people had conversations with the older folks, or was there much dialogue going on as to are they reinventing the wheel?
You mean with tomorrow's march?
Well, in general, with the movement, the young folks movement getting involved, which is a good thing. But what about, we old folks who have been through this already and probably can tell them where the pitfalls are? For instance, if I asked these young folks about the civil rights movement, you think they would know?
I think that a lot of them are studying, but I think that it's not so much necessarily that they are carrying on some of the activist work that existed during the civil rights movement. They see this gun violence piece as being their issue that's impacting them directly in their daily lives, that they want to see some movement on in the here and now. And that's a little bit different than fighting for voting rights and some of the other things that were the tenets of the civil rights movement.
Well, I do think that you can't ignore race. I think the problem we face, for instance, in the African American community regarding violence, is different than what generally white communities face.
Yeah.
So I think that, and plus, if you look at schools, it seems to be a connection between so-called bad schools and crime-ridden neighborhoods.
Yes.
And I think all of that should be taken into account. And lastly, I think what I think about is a man being mugged on the street, and everyone is talking about the cause of him being on the ground. But the man, if he has the ability to get up, he should get up. And I think that if you study our community, that's what we mostly have. It's not that so much racism knocked us on the ground, but it's that we have the ability to get up and have strong, safe, and prosperous communities and schools if we want it.
Yeah.
And I think the young folks need to understand that part. That's all.
I got you. Well, we always appreciate the input, and we want to encourage multi-generational dialogue. So we thank you for calling in and sharing that thought. And, we talk so often about the idea of how media influences the way that we look at these issues, Mike. And so I wonder if there is, some room in this movement where we're talking a lot about the notion of social media's impact on our young people and allowing them to organize and gather and everything else. And we're going to talk a little bit later about the influence that what we're seeing right now will even have on the future of Hollywood and on Black storytelling.
Exactly, yeah.
That if there's room for positive media interaction.
Well, two things I want to say. First off, Charles Woods is going to be calling at 12:30, so stay tuned. A lot of people have been wanting to hear from him about certain things. And then also, for those watching the feed, this kind of conversation is typical of your show and all the shows on WURD. So if you're watching the replay, always tune into www.wurdradio.com, and you can listen live to all the shows. And it's a fantastic community that we have built here.
I was going to say, while you're saying that, shout out to my cousin Japiri, who London-born Nigerian, who has started tuning in to the station, and just kind of taking in the conversation because he missed it.
Yeah, and I was supposed to miss this. You said, I got the week off. I was ready to go to Gordon Parks, and then I think right when you sent the email, I heard my grandmother say, "You got Gordon Parks money?" Gordon Parks got money. You can't be going up to New York because the snow hit and it put us behind in terms of. I was supposed to do a whole lot of things, including talk to Charles about Black Panther for our podcast. So we're delaying that a week, but I'm happy to be here.
Yes, we're glad to have you.
And so they keep pulling me back in. This is sort of like a freestyle thing, so people can certainly call in and add their voice to this discussion.
Absolutely. 215-634-8065. Toll free at 1-866-361-0900. You can hit Mike on social media at Reelblack.
That's REEL.
Yes, real as in film. And you
Black
could
is how we be.
Yes, and mention me at WURD_S Renee.
Yeah, so we're our ratings are going up. We have transcended.
Very concerned about this.
We've transcended being the Frank's place of talk radio. Now
there you go.
We're on the verge of being what's happening now of Black Talk Radio. that lasted 2 seasons. So I think that's a good sign for those who appreciate and support real talk radio. I think the issue, everything's so microwave now in terms of how we get information and how we respond to it that I'm very concerned about everything. So I'm excited. I mean, certainly I'm not young. I'm not, but I'm appreciative of the fact that people are out there marching, making their presence known on these issues. I think that's much more important than just throwing hashtags around.
Right.
And that's why that leads me to the skepticism about the whole Me Too. And I know you spoke about Tarana. You read from her interview, and I think that's a fabulous movement. But action speaks louder than words.
Right.
So hashtag. I mean, I remember 2 years ago we were laughing at Trump throwing ice on his head, and everybody was throwing ice bucket was the big thing. So, I think as time moves forward, things move faster, and our collective memory especially gets a lot shorter. So I think it's great that we have elders like Leon calling in and saying, look, are we reinventing the wheel? Has this happened before? Because I look at time, sometimes a good analogy for me is it's a record. So you start off and then you get to the end, things move a little faster, the circle's tighter, but then you got to flip it over to get to side 2. So, how many of us are on side 2? How many of us are on side 3? How many of us are on side 4? We've seen this before.
But I think what I feel sometimes gets lost in that conversation is the fact that it hasn't been resolved. So yes, we might have been in that space before, having these conversations, having this movement. If our young people still recognize things as a problem, that means that the job didn't get done before. And that doesn't mean that people didn't sacrifice, that there wasn't a lot of work done and things to be had. But 50 years later,
right,
if we're still trying to stand up for similar issues, that means that there is a desire to put the period on the sentence and do everything in our power to seal it.
But that's the misconception. The job is never done.
Right.
So it requires constant effort. You can't just plant a bunch of seeds and then dig up all the lettuce and be like, all right, we're done for forever. We don't have to grow any more lettuce. Right. You have to tend to your garden. You have to maintain the ideas, beliefs, and principles that are important to you, and make sure that they're respected. Hey, dog, stay off my lawn. Hey, build the gate. Do what you need to do to make sure that your garden is tended.
And not just that, but also you can build a fence around the lawn in its current state, and then if you realize you got a bunch of crabgrass and not a bunch of healthy grass,
get some people to pull them weeds out.
Exactly, you got to uproot it, and you got to do some other things.
So I mean, that folds perfectly into what I wanted to talk about in terms of black film. So we are, what I was saying, we're at a convergence point. So a very perfect storm, 2018, where we're not only have the ability and support for black folks to tell our own stories within cinema, but studios are paying attention.
Yeah.
And they're finally giving budgets that that represent the ideal, the vision. So, but then the question is, what does that mean? Is everyone gonna get in there and be? Is it gonna be $100 million black movies all day long?
But does everybody want to get in there? I think that there is a. I don't know about tipping point. I think there is a decision that creatives are going to have to make about pathway and about integrity as it relates to how they want to tell their stories. Right. Because we have $100 million plus budget films that are being created now by black and brown people, and that's incredibly important and necessary. But so is the smaller, I shot this all on my iPhone, or a series of iPhone projects that are trying to tell a different kind of story.
Yeah, but I think, the dream is what fuels everything, right? You visualize it first, and a lot of people, it's an aspirational thing. Magic Johnson's black-owned network is called Aspire. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to that's a whole other conversation. Yeah. But we tend to live our lives through other people oftentimes, not just black folks, but everybody. You fantasize, I want to be this, I want to be that, and that implants a dream. Now, if I were starting today, I don't know if I would even be in show business. I might, as of today, I want to be a meteorologist because Byron Allen has bought the Weather Channel.
Yes.
Right, so that means that he's going to be looking for black meteorologists, right?
Maybe.
I don't think so.
I was going to say, I don't know that he's going to do a whole hiring
that brother get paid. He got a $20 million mansion. But congratulations, Byron Allen.
Yeah, for those of you who have not heard, but this deal also includes thegrio.com.
Well, he owns the Griot already.
Yeah.
He's been stocking up ever since he's been on our show. I mean, I think the impetus was him being on this show. Like he said, now I got to buy up everything.
And was talking about the alienation of advertising for black networks.
Yes.
That was our conversation, and he really didn't engage after we talked to him.
I'm just
saying he started denying other people the conversation. So it really was a historic moment for us to be able to engage with him and talk about the significance of suing to say that major agencies and the big cable networks were redirecting advertising away from black networks.
So I've been trying for a while. Byron, we need to update that conversation.
We really do.
Because people, I mean, and clearly that's a 25-year journey that he's done. He started, again, if you can go back and listen to that conversation. It's on YouTube. It's got a lot of views. That might have been our episode of MASH when Byron Allen was. But I mean, clearly, individual success does not mean communal success, I think is the main point. And, it's very much up to those who get in to fuel it. Otherwise, and I'll make the audacious statement now, and then we can pick it up when after the break when Charles Woods joins us. My core belief is that if we're not vigilant about this, because so much of what we're seeing now is a perfect storm of people being prepared. A lot of folks that are getting opportunities now are inspired. They had their aspiration based on the Spike Lee movement and the John Singleton. John Singleton, who directed the Remember the Time video, the opportunities are created for young black men in the early 1990s. Is coming to fruition in a sense, and also just the fact that Hollywood is devoid of ideas, so black is a novelty also,
It is indeed.
And then everything's reactionary to
And just
Trump.
because things are successful, that doesn't mean the checks are being written, because Weinstein, had to file for bankruptcy. Yeah. They still owe Ryan Coogler money. Get your money, Ryan.
And Malia Obama is on that list too. A lot of people, and even Byron Allen is owed money because his home video distribution is through Weinstein. So, I mean, they can be taken, that whole game can be taken away from you at any point, and it's whether you want to play the game or not. But I will make the audacious statement. I don't know everything, and I know there's a lot of people working on this issue, thinking about it every day, trying to bust through these doors, right? But I see a lot. I tell you, I noticed the whole cupcake thing at Wegmans. How they had the chocolate cupcakes and the chocolate icing, and then you could only get that or the white cake with the white icing, and now you can get chocolate cake with white icing, and you can get chocolate cake with white icing and white cake with chocolate icing now. But that's all because of resistance. There's a whole hashtag movement. We need chocolate cake at Wegmans. So
perhaps you shouldn't even be eating the cupcakes.
But anyway, I need to slim down. I'm growing a beard until I get the thing down. So here's the thing. So 5 years. Black film has about 5 years before it's all over. That's my prediction.
That's Mike's contention. Before we go to the break, before we bring Charles Woods into that conversation, let's go to the phones and speak to Virgil. Good morning. Hey, good afternoon.
Yeah, how y'all doing?
We're good.
Excellent. Try out those cupcakes over there because I don't know how long that's going to last.
They don't advertise on the station. We're not advertising for them.
It might not last.
Let Virgil talk.
Go ahead.
Can I speak or what?
Go ahead.
I'm listening how confident y'all is. Y'all is very confident about yourself. Okay? Y'all is very confident. That's what I'm talking about. So I like that. So listen, I'm a minister, Jesus Christ, and listen to y'all. Y'all talking about the movie?
Yes.
Black Panther, and the reason why that movie is still successful is talking about black culture or African culture from the continent of Africa. Now, I did want to say something else, if it was all right.
Sure.
I want to talk about something else. Do y'all know what the HIV infection rate is for Philadelphia?
Not the current statistics, no.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was just looking at the paper. Y'all could call Philadelphia Fight for those statistics. How bad it is. And it say that young people, that's young people issue. It say 4% of 2015, 1,723 people aged 13 and 19 messed up like that. Okay, and there's other statistics also. Y'all talking about the young people supposed to be doing something tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, that's a bad situation. That's young people issue, especially black.
Absolutely.
Without question, yes.
Then you talk about that. Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you, Virgil. And it's certainly, I mean, we could talk about how just earlier this week, and I don't want to get into celebrity gossip. All I'm going to say is that there are teens now who are kind of rebuking the whole safe sex thing because they do think that that the time for critical mass in terms of HIV and AIDS infection has passed, and that is absolutely not true. And so the images that exist about how our relationship should be conducted and promiscuity and all the other things that tag into that.
Be careful out there, folks.
Yeah.
There's some serial killers out there. And they do this intentionally, without question. There are people that know they are not safe, and they are doing unsafe things.
True.
There are some very, I would say, malintentioned, for lack of a better word, people that they want to commit suicide and want to take a few people with them.
I definitely hear that. I'm curious to see, and this still doesn't protect from sexually transmitted diseases, but there is a male pill in development. I'm very interested to see what brothers
I beta tested for that.
And on that note, we're going to take our next commercial break and come back with more Real Black Radio.
Tester, so.
Goodbye. Giving you a taste of some classic Minnie Riperton on this TGIF edition of The Source, our Real Black Radio segment, a song called Memory Lane. And what's interesting, Mike, is that as I'm listening to this, I'm realizing that there is a whole generation of young people who only know Maya.
My.
They don't know her mama, Minnie.
That's very likely.
In terms of the connectedness to black celebrity
Maya
and
Rudolph
presence.
being Minnie Riperton's daughter.
Yes,
Richard Rudolph. Of course, that's one to grow on, folks. In case you're not familiar, yeah.
And I was gonna say, and for the people who love the song "Loving You," when she sings Maya at the end of the song, she's singing to Maya Rudolph.
What an amazing gift! And Maya married to P.T. Anderson, and it goes on and on. Whole creative family. Yeah, I mean that was excellent. I mean, I see your programming your choice. Remember the Time and Memory Lane. I don't know what you have in store for the third thing.
Yeah.
But very well spent 2 minutes of time. I would much rather spend 2 minutes listening to Minnie Riperton than 2 minutes on Little Boat's new album. Unfortunately, I wasn't a fan.
You mean Lil Yachty?
Well, he calls himself Little Boat now because he's so confused. Well, I mean, he has a alter ego. Supposedly, but he doesn't like being called Little Yachty. He prefers the Little Boat, apparently, if you pay attention.
It's all bad.
I don't think
we don't even have to spend a whole lot of time talking about it.
There are no written interviews with Little Yachty, by the way. It's all him talking. There's no one can dissect. I'm sorry, no disrespect. going a little too far. With us on the line, Charles Woods.
Hello, Charles. Welcome back to the program.
Hi, Stephanie. How you doing?
I'm good. And for those of you, part of the reason why I'm glad that I picked kind of the nostalgia piece for this hour is Mike has a photo of when you all met up at a record store in Hastings-on-Hudson.
Yeah,
and he said it felt like Happy Days.
The town.
Oh, that place. It took me two places. First of all, it was nostalgic, but it just reminded me of how many things I've lost and had to get rid of. I don't know if Mike told you my situation, but
yeah. Well,
I'm looking at the prices and the things all sealed and everything.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, well, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But every time, just to digress for just a second, Stephanie, you remind me. I had an idea for part of a program where we discussed music artists. And I said it would be called Discussion.
Okay.
Play on the word of discussion.
Yes.
Well, we have to load that one up into the plan.
I was going to say, well, we can make that happen. So, I can talk to you more offline about how we can kind of bring all that together, and Mike can have some ownership of your film discussions. But I would love to help engage with you over the music piece.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right.
Fantastic.
Yay.
So we were having our discussion. I know, Charles, you were listening in earlier. So, I mean, just as devil's advocate now, everybody should stay on their grind, tend to their own garden. But I see everything in cycles. I see everything. But I think 5 years we have this movement. And then if we're not careful, it could be over. Because my belief is that it's going to fold into diversity, and if these movies are not supported financially, or if they're not marketed properly, where they don't reach a broader audience, or they get labeled a certain way, then Hollywood's going to look at it like, okay, well, diversity is the same thing as blackness, and it's going to homogenize into an outer thing. And I've seen it happen too often in real life, specifically. I went to NYU as an MLK scholar. The first year was all black students. When I went back 20 years later, they diversified it, and it's everybody of color.
Yeah, but that's part of the way that the I Have a Dream speech has been commodified in order to, they all go back to that famous line, little black boys and black girls holding hands, and it changes that. But for the benefit of those people who might just be tuning in, we are talking about the current wave of black film success in major studio Hollywood,
right,
and whether or not it is sustainable. And so Charles,
and Charles is my podcast partner on the Reelblack podcast,
yes,
a venerable film historian, 40 years in the game, years and years of research has taught me so much. Hollywood only cares about money. Correct or no correct? How do you see this pattern changing?
I keep asking you, I want to know what your definition of black film is, because I was just thinking about, some of the footage we could put up for the presentation I'm putting together, a mini lesson on this whole phenomenon of Black Panther and the correlation of just ecstatic feeling surrounding the film. But the thing is, you know, when you're emotionally attached to something, it's very hard for you to look at it objectively.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I went to see Gordon's War, and after the showing, I went up to Ozzie Davis and I said, "Man, this was a masterpiece." And Ozzie looked at me. He had a look at it, his look, kind of like, "Is this guy crazy?" But the whole thing is, when I was watching blaxploitation when it was happening, it was wonderful. It was great. I didn't get into the negativity of it. You know, I thought Superfly was fantastic. We loved it. We loved a lot of those films because it spoke to us in the context of the times. You know, a friend of mine, my brother, I call him my brother, but he uses the term zeitgeist.
Mm-hmm.
You have to take everything and look at it from the context of its times. What a lot of people aren't aware of, Stephanie and Mike, Black Panther is superficially what you would call a black film.
Mm-hmm.
But when you really look at it, when you divorce yourself from the emotional aspect of it, that you get caught up in all of the beauty that you're surrounded by in watching this film from a cultural perspective, seeing blackness and seeing it presented in the positive way it's being presented, we're caught up in that. Like I said, I was just happy to see Lupita Nyong'o as a love interest.
Right.
I was Danae Guerrera, someone who tosses off the European wig and says, "Enough of this nonsense."
Right.
That coded message, you know, it says a lot about. It's important that the people who make films that look like us have a consciousness where they're aware of trying to make sure that there is some degree of authenticity so far as it relates to blackness.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But the important thing you have to realize when you watch these films, if it's going to make money, it can't be sold on its blackness. Okay? Richard Pryor, he said, you know, there came a point when I realized I was not black, I was not white. Do you know what he said he was?
I'm going to say green.
He was green. All about the money. You know, we're getting excited about Black Panther. But look at all the money Eddie Murphy's films made.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And the thing is, Eddie Murphy was not seen as a black man.
Right.
Per se.
Well, he clearly doesn't want to be seen as a black man, and now that he's making this remake, the sequel to Twins, Triplets, with Danny DeVito and Schwarzenegger.
But he made $1 gazillion for Paramount.
Yes, he did.
He had the opportunity to be given the position no other black man was going to be given, the way to greenlight films.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it. Okay. The thing is, his films, when you look at his films, the blackness was temporized. It was faded. He was not presented as a black character. If we saw black, it was because cosmetically you see a black man.
Right.
That's why a lot of these films, when they're headed by a Denzel Washington or Wesley Snipes or Idris Elba, right away you hear, oh, it's a black film. Only because, what, it has a black lead?
Yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Right. Break, okay?
Well, let me just throw this out. I mean, Black Panther, black director, black cast, black writer, predominantly white producers, executive producers. You know, the majority of that money, the billions, it's 5 weeks at #1 as we speak. The majority of that money is gone directly back into the studio. And I think one of the arguments that my twin, my spirit animal, Jada Pinkett Smith was saying was that you know, that these movies, they make a lot of money for these studios, but very little, and Gabrielle Union said the same thing, very little of it goes back into making more black film, or more films with black casts, you know. So I just want to get your thoughts on that.
Well, black folk have been exploited by this industry for years. Okay? We've grown up to watch any film. We're not particular about who's the star.
Right.
Okay? We put our booties in the movies, in the movie theaters, we don't care. Okay, I talked to Spike when he was trying to promote his film. It was in competition with one of Schwarzenegger's films, and he said, "Look at them. They're all lined up to watch this film, and they're not coming to see my film." We grew up in a dominant white culture, and because of that, we've been sold whiteness all our lives. And the only thing we aspire to, you talked about Magic Johnson's channel being called Aspire. Mm-hmm. We grew up aspiring to be white.
Mm.
Yeah.
Sidney Poitier was #1 for 1967. He was the top box office star for 1967. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. The film that made the least amount of money of the 3 films he released, okay, there are 3 films. Guess Who's Coming to Dinner?
Mm-hmm. Lilies of
Serve
the
with
Valley.
Love, right?
Mm-hmm.
And The Heat of the Night. Which film made the most money?
I would assume Guess Who's Coming to Dinner because it won the Oscar?
Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, okay? Now, what was that? How did they present that interracial thing? Dramedy comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? The second film that did the best was To Serve with Love.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said when you see To Serve with Love, they don't even talk about race. And then when they talked about In the Heat of the Night, one of the critics said, how could he be rejected by these prospective white parents? How could they reject him? He wasn't a black man. He was too white.
Well, in the Heat of the Night, you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
Yeah.
He was too white. You see?
Mm-hmm.
What's happened is that when you look at Panther, and I told you before when we discussed Panther, and I said, well, I want to see what's the dilution solution going to be. And I see someone say, well, there's no such thing as, in this film, the dilution solution. I beg to differ, okay? The thing is, this film, in many respects, is anti-black.
Okay, well, that's going to be our discussion.
We're gonna hold on that point.
Well, that's our podcast. But what I want to throw out, also thinking in terms of how it affects the rest of the economy of black film. A movie just came on Netflix today, this morning. I was up early, fell asleep on it, unfortunately. Roxanne, mm-hmm. which is an independent film by black filmmakers, Forrest Whitaker being one of the producers, Pharrell Williams, about Roxanne Shantae's ascension in hip-hop back in the day. And it thought that occurred to me was hip-hop, that part of black culture was done on the streets. Film gets made in the boardroom. So, how do we apply our creativity, our natural creativity, into the filmmaking space, this corporate space? I would love if we could engage in discussing that a little more.
And I want to start talking about, especially Charles, since you brought up blaxploitation, I want to start talking about the blaxploitation remakes that we have coming forward as well, and where that factors into this idea of black film and black Hollywood. So that and more as we continue on this week's edition of Real Black Radio, and conclude after this. From her critically acclaimed album Soul, S-O-L, Empowered, that is Detroit vocalist Shantae Khan with a song titled Reason to Live. And I'm glad that this ends up being the last one in my playlist today, because this goes to the deeper conversation that Charles Woods is engaging with us about what is black.
Okay.
Right? Is it black because she's a black girl singing it? Or is there another level of aesthetic choices that we make before we claim something as black, as opposed to mainstream or other kinds of designations that we give this artistry that we create? I
don't know. I just want a chai tea latte right now. There's a whole, if K-Tel were around, they'd have a whole album. Black girls you hear at Starbucks. That's some coffee. That's some coffee movie.
Right.
Good. Good.
Before, in the interest of time, just to piggyback, Paul Mooney used to talk about the complexion connection.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what happens is when blacks do something, as soon as you see black, you think black.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Cruise, name a whole host of white actors. We've never referred to their films as white films.
No, they're just film. They're mainstream films.
Yeah, but you know, if Denzel's leading the film, and what was it? Sony's emails got hacked.
Yeah.
His movie didn't do as much as it should have done because he's black. Listen, that whole thing is a specious argument. The whole thing is, when we talk about blackness, we gotta explain what do we mean by our terms. In logic, if you don't want to get into an argument, before you even get into a discussion, everyone has to define their terms.
Right.
This way, you know where I'm coming from, I know where you're coming from, because the one thing that makes everything an argument is that we don't all speak the same language.
Well, so you know, for me, the movement is about representation. You know, for over 100 years, 150 years, since the invention of film, that technology has been dominated by a certain perspective. Now, and in America, it's doubled down with the fact that we're beyond, like the NEA is gone. There's very little space to exist within the technology unless you're going to make money at it. If you don't make money at it, then you don't get to make more film. So we've corrupted ourselves in a sense by not having other routes for us to express ourselves. But getting more voices in, I think, ultimately decimates the idea that there's one flavor of blackness. But your point, Charles.
Well, first of all, there's no monolithic thought with black.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
When we're talking about representation, actually, we're talking about representation. Okay, because if I want to do a black story, is it a black movie? If my story is about Herman Cain, is that different than if I made a movie about Barack Obama?
Right.
They're both black, right?
Yeah.
You see, and for all of the Larry Elders in the world who have an idea of what blackness is or what's holding black people back, we have the contrary thought that no, it's the system. But these kind of stories don't get told. And the reason why they don't get told is because we get trapped in this colonized society's idea of what is success, what makes us a success. And to be a success, when you really examine it, you have to be white.
Within the context. Well, but then if you look at, again, bring up hip hop, that was a culture we created and was birthed on the streets. Now, when it gets commodified and packaged, you definitely have to take it to some white folks, and then
you gotta
tone it down. However, so black film.
That leads to my question, because I just want to be mindful of time, and I want to. So what you just offered us, Charles, then I really am now curious to hear about how you feel about this new wave of 21st century stylized blaxploitation films that we're going to see over the course of the next year. We got a new Shaft movie coming out, and we've got a new
Christy Love.
I didn't even remember about Christy Love.
Kenya Barris,
and Superfly. Are all coming back to either cable or coming back to mainstream film distribution. Do you feel this is in response to something, or do we still think about these? They aren't blaxploitation anymore because people are trying to portray them just as a kind of revitalization of black culture. But where do they fit in the conversation around Hollywood?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, we have to define blaxploitation. Blaxploitation is two words: black exploitation. Exploitation, the legitimate use of exploitation, as far as movies is concerned, it's all exploitation because you're promoting something to sell it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here, but as far as blackness is concerned, blaxploitation films, as what we know it, blaxploitation films was cinema of vengeance, retribution. Okay? I told Mike there was at one time when Black Gun, Jim Brown's film Black Gun was released, they had at one time the promotional poster was for every drop of black blood spilled, a white man pays. That had to be pulled out of circulation because it was considered too incendiary.
Right.
Okay, so the thing is, when we look at Luke Cage is a hero.
Yes.
He's ghettoized. Black Panther is a hero. He's ghettoized. Wakanda. What was Wakanda?
Africa.
Wakanda,
all black
Africa.
country.
That's all you saw is black folks. So if you have a black protagonist, who's the antagonist?
It's another
In
black person.
Panther, for the most part, who did he have to kill?
Michael
Black
B.
people.
Yeah.
And in the end, you had black women fighting black men. Okay?
Okay.
Look, okay, so the thing is, when you asked the question about this new thing about blaxploitation, the thing is, on what level will it be produced? Will it be produced for a niche audience, the way Tyler Perry's films are produced, and this made him a multimillionaire? Because here's what people don't realize. In 10 years, Stephanie, Mike, the production of films where you had black leads as you know, like your No Good Deeds, those type of films, the ratio of recouping profit or making a profit on those films, do you know what the percentage is?
No.
189%. Okay? Compared to films similar with white cast. Okay? So black film, when using the term black films that we say black, but films with black leads
Right.
tend to make money. They recoup their profit. Get Out, you had a black lead in that, right?
Right.
For a $5 million budget, that thing almost made $200 million worldwide.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
Okay. Straight Outta Compton.
30 million.
Okay. Now here's the thing. Those have predominantly black cast.
Yeah.
Not Get Out, but
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton.
Girls Trip, Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
Right. Django Unchained.
Yep.
But Django Unchained, they did it different. They had a white guy for the most part working with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you had, when he killed Samuel Jackson's character, there was a necessity for that.
Right.
You know what it was?
Go ahead.
It wasn't just about black against white. It's about, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem.
Amen, especially with Samuel Jackson's character. I want to be mindful of time because we do have someone that's been hanging out waiting to ask you a question, Charles. So let's go to the phones now and speak to Timothy calling in from South Philly. Good afternoon.
Oh, Charles, great guest. Mike, good hearing you. Stephanie, Renee, you always have good people.
Hey.
Thank you.
This is good indeed. When I saw Panther 3 weeks ago, I was on the West Coast. And after that, we had a forum, and everybody thought it was great. Oh, the closest thing to the reality of black people. I come back to the West Coast and go to an Afrocentric forum, everything's wrong in it. Oh, my God. I said, so should the next viewing and showing of Black Panther, should they first consult the Afrocentrics so they could talk about Nile Valley civilization, Memphis, the city of the gods, and the tomb of Abydos? And I said to myself, I guess it depends on the eyes and the lens that you're looking from. Give an example.
Yes.
I grew up in the 60s to the 70s, and I saw Superfly when it first came out.
Mm-hmm.
And later on in life, people told me Timber wasn't black enough. I said, well, what was wrong? Was it a black film, black cast, black producers? They said, if you notice Ryan O'Neal's character, he had straight hair. I said, he's also known as being a Shakespearean actor. He's known for Hamlet. And he said to me that I found out later from reading articles that the reason why they added that hair is because he had a receding hairline. I said, yeah, if he would have had a bush, he would have been black then.
Sherman Hemsley.
Oh, my gracious.
Sherman Hemsley as Superfly.
He was balding, and he wore a toupee. But to piggyback on your point, there's one scene when they were shooting crap, and he comes and he wants to talk to Carl Lee's character. He said, oh, man, I'm winning me a wad of money here. What you want to talk to me about now? Man, I got to talk to you. And one of the guys said, "Man, you gonna stop the game because this light-skinned son of a gun is coming here?"
But well, yeah. So to the point, yeah. I mean, not one. There's no one film that can please everybody. We certainly understand that.
Yeah.
But from your perspective, just to give people a taste of what we're going to be discussing in the podcast, and to wrap things up, I mean, what's your ultimate take on Black Panther, the success? Is it a Marvel film? Is it a black film? Does it mean that there's going to be more black film? Is it going to be more superheroes?
It's not a black film.
Where does it go? Where are we going?
It's a Marvel film. It's what I call a cosmetic aesthetic. Okay.
Okay.
It's icon. ICON is iconic. But it's the icon. EYE-con. It's conning the eye. It's like the brother just said. You know, you go to someone Afrocentric, and they'll tell you this is colonized BS. That's okay. What we get is not about any film that's going to show us how to dismantle this system. Okay. Okay. You look at the latest things that's coming out there showing you. You go to the New York Times. You're reading about how far back black folks are still in this country. We can't even get health care.
Right.
This guy's putting in all the people who are going to say yes to anything he wants to do. And then when you look at what happened with Facebook, it's what's happening. They know, as I told you, Mike, they're not killing us with tanks that shoot weapons. They're killing us with think tanks. They know how to outthink us. This is all eye candy. This is BS.
Okay, well,
I hear you.
To be continued.
Yes, on the Reelblack podcast. But now, Mike, we gotta go.
I need to clarify. So, Get Chrissy Love is going to be a TV series produced by Vin Diesel and Courtney Kemp, and Kenya Barris is the writer of the Shaft reboot, which will be in theaters.
Got you. Well, we appreciate you, Charles, and we know that this is going to be quite a lively discussion. So people need to tune in to the Reelblack podcast, and I'll get your contact information from Mike so we could talk more about discussions. Thank you for everybody who's been checking us out on Facebook Live. Brother Shamari is coming up next. Keep your dial locked here on Word Radio, and take good care.
Let me get an Oscar, let me get an Emmy. Reelblack woke up the filmmaker Emmy, whether digital, 8mm, 35. Let's make the movies that can open the eyes.